Welcome to this episode of Spelling Bee Ninja. Today, we're diving into an essential aspect of English communication: how to ask questions. Whether you're new to English or looking to sharpen your skills, understanding how to form questions correctly is key. We'll explore different types of questions, giving you the tools to enhance your conversation skills and curiosity. Ready to become a questioning ninja? Let's get started. As we engage in our daily conversations, asking questions plays a vital role. Questions are how we gather information, clarify doubts, and keep discussions flowing. In English, there are various kinds of questions. Let's break them down, starting with yes or no questions. These are the simplest form of questions and can be answered with just a yes or no. To form a yes/no question, the structure typically follows this pattern: auxiliary or modal verb plus subject, then the main verb, and finally, the rest of the sentence. For example, if you want to ask someone if they like coffee, you would say, "Do you like coffee?" Similarly, for asking about a party, you could ask, "Is she coming to the party?" Notice how auxiliary verbs like do or is appear at the beginning? That's a key characteristic of yes/no questions. It's important to note that the auxiliary verb changes depending on the tense of the main verb you're using. For instance, in present simple, you might ask, "Do you work here?" For past simple, you could say, "Did she call you?" Understanding tense is crucial in forming correct questions. Let's move on to WH questions. These questions delve deeper and gain details. They begin with specific question words: who, what, where, when, why, which, whose, and how. Unlike yes/no questions, WH questions cannot be answered simply with yes or no. Take the question, "Where do you live?" It requires a fuller response. The structure for these kinds of questions generally follows: WH word, then auxiliary or modal verb, followed by the subject, main verb, and the rest of the sentence. For example, "What are you doing?" This structure provides clarity. Sometimes, the WH word itself serves as the subject, so it's even simpler. If you ask, "Who broke the window?" there's no auxiliary needed, who is the subject here. Next up is tag questions. These questions are added to the end of a statement to either confirm information or invite a response. They usually consist of an auxiliary verb plus a pronoun. A basic rule here is, if your statement is positive, the tag will be negative, and vice versa. For example, you could say, "You can drive, can't you?" If the statement was negative, like "They don't like pizza," the tag would be positive, "Do they?" In tag questions, you need to use the correct auxiliary verb found in the main sentence, along with an appropriate pronoun. Remember the special case with "I am"? The tag would be "Aren't I?" It's somewhat of an exception, but it's useful to know. Finally, let's touch briefly on rhetorical questions. These are a special category where you ask something not to get an answer but to make a point. For instance, consider the question, "Is the sky blue?" This doesn't really require an answer, it emphasizes a truth rather than seeking information. Rhetorical questions enhance communication by provoking thought or highlighting emotions, making conversations lively and engaging. For example, "Who wouldn't want to be a millionaire?" is a rhetorical way to invite agreement or contemplation. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to highlight some common mistakes to avoid when forming these questions. A typical error with auxiliary verbs happens when someone says, "She like pizza, does she?" The correct form is, "She likes pizza, doesn't she?" Similarly, mixing up WH questions with yes/no formats can confuse speakers. Instead of saying, "Do you where live?" the right format is, "Where do you live?" Lastly, make sure to use the right pronoun in your tags, like saying, "Maria is your sister, isn't she?" instead of "isn't it?" With these tips, you can practice forming questions with confidence. To recap what we've learned, asking questions in English opens up a world of communication. We have yes/no questions for simple yes or no answers, WH questions to gather detailed information, tag questions to facilitate dialogue, and rhetorical questions to share thoughts without needing responses. Each type has its rules and usage, making them essential in daily conversations. Remember to practice using these structures in your speaking and writing to enhance your fluency. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Spelling Bee Ninja. We hope you now feel more confident about forming different types of questions in English. Remember, practice makes perfect. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks to enhance your English skills. Keep asking questions and happy learning.